Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take that stack of sources you share and cut straight to the insight you need. Today we're undertaking a deep dive into, well, one of the most universal yet maybe most misunderstood human experiences. We're talking about fear.
It's so true. I mean, most of us spend our entire lives trying to run away from fear, treating it like it's some kind of personal flaw or a sign of weakness.
The ultimate obstacle.
Exactly, the ultimate obstacle. But what if that feeling, that tightness in your gut, is actually a really sophisticated internal system, maybe even one of your greatest teachers?
And that is the radical premise that runs through all the material we process today,
Yeah.
primarily from engineer Reuben Juma Onunga's work on converting this emotion into an actual asset.
Right. He presents this compelling case that fear isn't an enemy to be defeated, but a signal to be interpreted. And this is the critical part, a powerful resource to be disciplined.
It forces a total pivot in perspective then.
A total pivot. So instead of just looking for comfort or, trying to make the feeling go away, the material guides us toward thoughtfully governing our inner life. It's about moving from being ruled by fear to ruling over the emotion.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission for this deep dive is to get past that fears as obstacle mindset, to really understand why it exists, and then how to convert that paralyzing energy into focus, wisdom, and courage.
And there's a central observation from the sources that's a little provocative.
I was just getting to that.
Fear shows up most strongly in the lives of people who are trying to live responsibly, people who are pursuing a purpose or attempting something meaningful.
Think about that. If you're feeling that profound fear right now, fear of failure, fear of the future, it might actually just be confirmation that you're standing right where growth and real responsibility intersect.
The sources are so clear on this. The careless or, the indifferent person, they don't wrestle with fear with the same intensity. Why? Because for them, nothing's really at stake.
That's a massive relief for anyone who carries that shame of feeling afraid. It means the fear itself is evidence that you care deeply about the outcome.
Precisely. And it brings up a fundamental question in the text. If fear is so stubbornly persistent after all our attempts to eliminate it, what if we've just misunderstood its function?
So it's not a biological glitch.
Not at all. The argument is it exists because human life has weight. It has consequence and responsibility. You simply do not fear what is meaningless to you.
So if nothing mattered, no consequences, fear would just disappear.
It would cease to exist. Let's take that entrepreneur example. It's not just about launching a product. Imagine you've spent 3 years, all your savings, every ounce of your energy on one idea. Now you have to stand up in front of investors.
Okay.
The fear you feel in that moment isn't announcing that your idea is bad. It's announcing the importance of the moment. It's announcing the gravity of what could happen, success or failure.
That makes perfect sense. In fact, running into a situation like that without any fear, what we'd call recklessness, is really just ignorance of the weight involved.
It is, and this leads to a really profound insight. True courage doesn't start with the absence of fear. It starts when fear is acknowledged, when it's weighed, and when it's managed.
This isn't a new idea, though.
Oh, not at all. It's foundational. The sources reference that ancient text, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom."
And we should frame that for everyone. In a more secular context, that fear can be translated as a profound respect for reality, for consequence.
Absolutely. It's humility. It's recognizing you're part of a system that's much bigger than you are, and your actions have ripples. So fear, when it's oriented correctly, is the starting point for intelligent living. It's the internal reality check that prevents that dangerous overconfidence.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting and tactical. If we want to use fear as a resource, we have to learn to classify it. The sources make a crucial distinction between paralyzing fear and productive fear.
And this classification is the key to everything. Paralyzing fear is the tyrant. It rules without wisdom. It exaggerates consequences, and it just feeds on the unknown.
It's what keeps capable people stuck.
Stuck in safe routines, endlessly scrolling, always planning, but never actually starting.
And productive fear.
A signal.
Productive fear.
Yeah.
It acknowledges the risk, but it doesn't surrender to it. It doesn't scream stop. It signals prepare.
Okay, an example.
Think of a leader who feels dread before a huge decision, like a merger. That dread doesn't make them run away. It makes them call the best lawyer, demand another week of due diligence, and get counsel from every advisor they trust. The fear doesn't block movement. It demands readiness.
Right. It directs wise action. The source material uses that analogy of having a spirit of power, love, and a sound mind, meaning any fear that removes your clarity is destructive.
But fear that produces wisdom, that pushes you to do your homework, that's constructive. Its core function is a signal for preparation, not retreat. The feeling is stop, but the message is get ready.
So how do we make that shift? Because a common complaint we hear is that fear feels so vague and overwhelming, you can't pin it down. And that's the trap. Vague fear paralyzes. Specific fear instructs. The breakthrough comes when you stop trying to just get rid of the feeling and you start converting it into, well, basically a project management to-do list.
How did that work?
You break the fear down into questions. So instead of, what if I fail and lose everything, which is this big emotional spiral,
Right.
you ask an engineering question. What are the top 3 failure points I need to mitigate in the next 48 hours?
I love that you replace the emotional what if with the practical how to.
Yeah.
That turns anxiety into a search for competence.
Exactly. And when your preparation increases, the fear naturally decreases because its instruction has been answered. It's all about restoring your sense of agency. But, and there's a huge but here, we have to be careful not to confuse preparation with delay.
That is a crucial distinction. We all use the I'm just preparing excuse to never actually launch.
Of course. Preparation has direction and a deadline. Delay has excuses and no end. Productive fear drives you to prepare and then move.
Yeah.
Paralyzing fear keeps you preparing forever.
Okay, so if fear is this signal for readiness, how does that change our approach to the most common roadblocks?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the specific fears holding you back, starting with the classic, fear of failure.
Ubiquitous. The source insists we have to reframe this completely. Fear of failure exists because growth is happening. If the task were easy, you wouldn't be afraid of failing it.
So failure isn't the opposite of success.
It's a critical part of its construction. Mastery is born right in that place where failure is possible. The greater danger isn't falling down, it's stagnation. It's never attempting to rise in the first place.
So a disciplined mind uses that fear as a training signal.
A training signal connected to effort. It pushes you to practice relentlessly, to prepare diligently. Think of it like a data analysis tool. It sharpens your feedback instead of just shutting down the attempt.
Okay, what about the fear of criticism? This one is a silent killer for so many creatives and leaders.
The reframe here is brilliant. Fear of criticism is simply the price of visibility. Criticism is not a sign that you're wrong. It's proof that you've become visible. You don't get criticized when you're hiding in the corner. The moment you step into the arena, you invite feedback.
And history shows us that big impact and unanimous approval almost never travel together.
They never do. So often, fear of criticism is really just a fear of being faithful to your own convictions. The flip is to see criticism as evidence of relevance. Meaningful action will always disturb someone's status quo.
So the trick is learning to extract the correction without absorbing the poison.
That's the whole game. You have to ask, is this feedback showing me a real blind spot I need to fix? Or is it just revealing the critic's own discomfort? The trained mind knows how to filter that.
And now for the one that sounds so strange, the fear of success. Why would anyone be afraid of achieving their goals?
Because success is a demand, not a destination. You don't fear the achievement itself, you fear the new weight and responsibility it demands. Success changes everything, your identity, your habits, the expectations people have of you.
You need new systems to sustain it. And you face a lot more scrutiny.
Exactly. Fear of success shows up when you instinctively know that getting to the next level will require you to become a different, stronger person. If your success outpaces your character, you're heading for a crash.
So that fear is a signal to grow deep.
Yes. It's not telling you to stay small. It's telling you to prepare for the massive weight of increased responsibility to build the foundation.
This whole framework seems to suggest that fear is an engine for internal growth. Let's talk about that internal system fear supports. Chapter 6 describes fear as guardian of humility.
I love that phrase. It acts like our moral and intellectual braking system. Fear keeps our certainty in check. It guards us from arrogance and recklessness by reminding us that our knowledge is incomplete. Unrestrained confidence is maybe the most dangerous mindset there is.
Which brings us back to that philosophical anchor reverence for reality. That it's the foundation of wisdom because it keeps you humble and accountable.
And it connects directly to the relationship between fear and faith. Faith is not the absence of fear, it's obedience and trust in the presence of fear.
Right. Courage isn't waiting for the feeling to go away.
Never. Courage is acting while your heart is still pounding. Peace and clarity often come after you make the move, not before. You have to translate what you believe into what you do.
So the final step in all this is training the mind. Fear is raw energy. The goal isn't numbness, it's emotional governance. What does that training actually look like?
It means refusing to let your mind scatter into those vague, catastrophic what-ifs. An untrained mind asks, what if everything goes wrong?
And a trained
A
mind?
trained mind channels that raw energy into focus and agency. And by urgency, I mean setting clear priorities, not panicking.
Give me a concrete example of that training.
Okay. You start a fear journal. You write down the vague fear like, my presentation is gonna bomb. Then you immediately translate it into a specific, actionable question.
Which would be?
What is the next single responsible step I must take right now? Is it reviewing the opening? Checking one data source? Practicing one transition? You focus on the smallest, most manageable piece of the problem. That action immediately restores your sense of agency.
Because action shrinks fear. It turns an abstract threat into a concrete problem you can actually solve.
That's it. Fear weakens in the presence of focused movement. Training your mind converts that emotional chaos into awareness and fuel for preparation.
This has been a complete, and I think necessary, shift in perspective. To recap the journey, fear was never meant to stop you, it was meant to guide you. When we flip that script, it becomes this essential tool for preparation, discipline, and wisdom. The goal isn't to be fearless,
No, it's to be fear aware.
to be fear-aware.
And the core message here is that a life well lived is one that is governed above fear. You learn to recognize its voice, you weigh its message, and you consciously decide what role it's going to play. Fear can support your decision-making, but it must not dictate your direction.
And as you move forward in your work, your leadership, whatever it is that demands courage from you, here's a final thought to mull over. Fear is not something to conquer once and for all. It is something to master repeatedly. Each season of growth, each new breakthrough is going to demand a new level of courage. And fear will arrive again, not to stop you, but to make sure that this time you move forward wisely.